This is Angela Cook. I am a marketing strategist and the founder of the new Facebook group, The Surge Small Biz Growth Community, where we are kicking butt and taking names. And this week we are covering over off of something that we've been talking about all week, which is time. One of the number one things that folks complained about with the struggles that you're having with your business is for time getting in the way of people being able to really work on their business versus working in their business. And that's an important distinction, because I think as business owners and entrepreneurs, we frequently get caught up in the working in the business, and then we don't necessarily pay as much attention to the growth and the vision and the strategy of the business. So we've been talking about time management this week, and I typically focus on the tactical aspects of time management. And today I have a fantastic special guest who focuses much more on the mindset of everything that she does. So today we have the fabulous Heather Patterson, who is a business and mindset coach, and she has been working with clients for the past 12 years. She's worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, helping them to really bust through and get to the bottom of what is keeping them from being at the top of their game. So I am super excited to have Heather with us this morning. And Heather's also the creator of a program called the 7 Thieves of Time. And so Heather, I know that you and I have a little bit of a different focus on time, so I'm going to turn it over to you and let you tell us all about how we can figure out what's stopping us from having enough time.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening if you're watching a replay. My name is Heather Patterson. Like Angela said, thank you for the introduction. And yes, there are definitely some tactical things with respect to time and our practices around time. And where I focus a lot of my effort and energy in working with my clients is with respect to the mindset and thinking, how we think about time. So I have a presentation. I'll do a little screen share so you can follow along in slides. So you know in advance, because some of you will be wanting to take notes or pictures. Feel free to do that if that works for you. But also, this content is also available for a download. I'll give you the link for that later in the day. So if you wanted to sit back, relax, and take it in, that works too. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will get right in there. Can you guys see everything okay? Thumbs up. Good. Okay. Awesome. All right. So we're going to go over the 7 Thieves of Time. And, what I'm about to share with you, some of this won't necessarily be like brand new information. And I want to encourage you to kind of release this, like, I already know, or I've already heard that. Think about it as it relates to you right now. That's going to be most useful and effective for you right now. And so the first thing, we kind of already did an introduction, so we don't need to get into that. The first thing I want to ask you is, can time be managed? Be thinking about that. And what do you think? And feel free to unmute yourself and shout out your answer. We just have a small group here, so I think that'll work. What do you think?
My initial reaction is that yes, it can be, but since that's the obvious answer, I think you're going to debunk that and tell us it's not.
Yeah. What do you think, Karen?
Yes, I think it can. No, we can't manage time. We can only manage what we do in the time.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I have a good friend. Her name is Fran, and we used to live I lived in Hawaii, and she lived there as well. And we would watch the sunset pretty regularly. And she'd text me like, "Where are you? What's happening?" And I'm like, "Oh, just give me." And she's like, she has this famous phrase, "The sunset waits for no one." And I think about that, and it's so true. Like, it doesn't wait around. Time does not wait around. We cannot contain it. It will continue to pass. So as Amanda indicated, right, time cannot be managed. And as Karen indicated, yeah, only our activity can. And so that sort of seems like the obvious thought. And where I tend to take people and remembering or reminding them is that actually our activity begins with our thinking. Our activity begins with our thinking. And so in the next couple of slides, I want to show you a model, a picture of how this works. And the reason why we use pictures instead of just a lecture or that sort of thing is because we think in pictures, right? Think about your home. Right now, you know what your home looks like, so you've called to mind a picture of your home. Think about a refrigerator. Think about a cup of coffee. Right? We all have a picture in our mind. They may look similar and chances are they look different. Yeah. And so I want you to call to mind an image, a picture of the mind. Do you have one? Angela has one. Angela, I know you have a working model that you're pretty familiar with. Yeah. Mine's probably going to look a little different. Some of you have seen this before, depending on the various teachers. I think it's probably worth noting here that I am affiliated with the Proctor Gallagher Institute. And so the work that I teach and translate and facilitate and so on and so forth is inspired by Bob Proctor and the Proctor Gallagher Institute. Okay, so I'm a certified consultant with them. Right? And so we need a picture of the mind so that we can understand how this works. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to this guy, the stick person. How many of you have seen this image before? No, brand new. Okay, all right. So bust up any old images of the mind, or maybe kind of welcome this one in. It's not that anyone is right or wrong, good or bad. This is another image or another model. Okay, I personally prefer this one. So this is a stick person. We're all stick people, walk around. We just have different costumes and outfits and hairdos on, right? Okay, well, we've got this big head on the top and a little body and our little appendages. Okay, and so let's break this down a little bit. On the top half of the head, of the mind, so to speak, and the mind is everywhere, but we kind of have a representation of the head. That is our conscious mind. Okay, that's where we think. That is where we are perceiving things with our senses, where we can, use our smell, our taste, our touch, our hearing, that sort of thing, right? And then we've got our subconscious mind, and that's our emotional or our feeling mind. And you will often see me go here to the heart. I believe that's kind of where that lives. Right? So we've got our thinking mind and our feeling or emotional mind, our subconscious mind. And then we have our little body. And that's where we take out action. And so what happens is an idea or a task or a whatever, flows into us, right? Through spirit, through source, through creation, all of that. And we begin to reason with it. We're thinking. And then we get emotionally involved with it, sometimes in a useful and a productive way, and sometimes not. And then we act. And actually sitting still and not acting is a form of action, right? It's just not. Does that make sense? Right? And so, has a lot to do with how we internalize, how we feel about what we're thinking about. And that's going to cause us to move forward or move back. Or stay still, okay? And the reason why that happens is because of this thing called paradigms. Some of you may know these better to be referred to as programs. Some of you will use the term, or maybe have heard the term, limiting beliefs. Similar, I'd prefer not to use the word limiting because paradigm and programs, they're actually neutral. They're not necessarily good or bad, right or wrong. They are effective or not effective based on what you want. There are some paradigms that you'll have that have been really useful and effective all the way up until the point that they're not. right? And it's time to, in order for you to get to the next level, for you to create a new paradigm. So paradigm is a multitude of habits, right? Like I mentioned, it drives our behavior. And this is really important. This third bullet here on the screen is that it includes the self-image. Okay. And the self-image is how we think about ourselves, our esteem, if you will. Okay. And so you can see how this plays out. If, say, for example, this event right here, right? Angela calls and says, hey, I'm doing a topic on time. I know you have kind of your method and thoughts and feelings about this. Would you like to come and speak? So I begin to reason with this. Well, I feel really great about it. I have a strong self-image about this topic and I'm excited to help people about it. So I'm emotionally involved. I'm like, when is it? Let's get the calendar going. Boom, boom, boom. And I move right into action. However, if I had a similar call and they said something like, I don't know, how to do really great makeup or something, I'd be like, I don't think I'm your girl, and I would back it up. Can you see how this plays out in real life? Right? Think, feel, and act. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into these 7 thieves of time, specifically around how we think. And what you're going to notice is that there will be some overlap. There may appear like something might be missing, like, well, hey, Heather, what about this one or that one? And chances are it falls into another category. It's just sort of like a surface level thief. Okay. So I have this like kind of fun little clock diagram here, but we, in the slides to follow, we'll break down each one. Okay. Any questions before we move on? No? All right, awesome. Okay, so let's dive in and I'm going to move I don't know if this is affecting your guys' view, but I'm going to move my little bar here of people. My little tiles, your beautiful faces. Okay. All right. And if you do have a question, here's one of the things that it's a blessing and a curse with Zoom. When you have your cameras on, it's great because I can see your faces. And sometimes we ask questions with our faces. But when I have this little tile thing shrunk so I can see and make sure that you can see the whole screen, I lose the ability to see the questions on your face. So feel free to just unmute. Hey, I have a question, right? And we can make sure you get what you need here. Okay. All right. So the first one, we're going to start over on the left-hand side, indecision. Okay. Indecision, huge, huge thief of time. So I'm not going to read to you. You can read these, but think about it. Think about, I often use the analogy of a road trip. If I leave my house with the intent of going to San Diego and then suddenly change my mind that I want to go to Flagstaff, and then I change my mind again and decide, no, I'm going to go down to Rocky Point, or actually, I think I'll just go to the Southeast Valley, or maybe I'll go all the way out to the East Coast. You can see how I begin to spin, right? And I've not made any progress. Okay. So a decision is required, a committed decision. Am I going to San Diego? Am I going to Rocky Point? Am I going to Flagstaff? And that's actually going to inform a lot of the other actions that I take, from there on. And so we have to make a decision. Oftentimes, and you'll see these pop up in the other thieves, we are concerned about the outcome. We're looking for perfection. We have a full calendar and we feel like I'm too busy to make a dang decision, that sort of thing. So there's definitely some overlap. However, indecision, one of the biggest thieves of time out there. You just create a spin for yourself. The next one, bottom left, lack of inspiration. Okay, so this is where you are kind of just like at a standstill, if you will, kind of this hamster wheel, right? You're going after what you think you should or what you've always done. There's no fire, right? There's no fire inside. It's not connected to what you really want. You're unclear about what it is that you're in pursuit of and why. And so no fire, no flame. It's like, all right, well, I'll just kind of keep doing what I'm doing. And every day kind of begins to look the same. And there's a lack of inspiration there. A definite thief of time. When you're inspired, you are in action, you're emotionally involved. You can see that little stick person just moving towards their goals, even when they encounter challenges, even when there's hiccups, even when there's bumps in the road. It's like, oh, okay, keep going. And there's urgency and excitement, enthusiasm. Next one, saying yes. Huge, 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 huge. Okay. And remember, paradigms, right? Paradigms, I didn't stress this when we were talking about it a moment ago, but paradigms are formed, very early on. Very, very early on. And so often we are brought up in environments, right, where we were told to be agreeable, to say yes, to be accommodating. And I'm not saying that being, kind and generous and all of that is a bad thing. Certainly, many of us are familiar with the phrase givers gain, right? So of course, go and contribute and say yes. And also remember, there is opportunity to say yes to yourself, right? Saying no to others is an opportunity for you to say yes to yourself. And so that takes practice. That takes a busting up of that paradigm of saying yes and always being there for everybody else. And, being able to step into that saying yes to myself and saying no to others is actually also healthy and effective. Then we get into lone wolf, right? And I see this one probably the most commonly with the business owners and entrepreneurs that I work with, right? Because what happens is we start in our business doing the thing that we're the expert at, right? And we want to grow. We're like, I know I got to hire someone, yet when it comes to beginning to hand off the things, whether it's with an employee or a third-party vendor, a freelancer, that sort of thing, we're like, no, I can't. And we continue to hold on. And so what we have to do is we need to empower other people around us, right? And allow people to support us. And chances are they are going to probably to be able to do it better and more effectively. And I loved what Angela said in the Facebook group the other day about, in a more cost-effective way. Looks like there's a chat here, and I want to acknowledge that. If this is a problem for you, type yes in the chat. Thanks, Angela. I appreciate you doing that. Right. Okay. So any questions before we move on to the next few? No questions? Okay. All right. So, oops. Okay, so the next one is all around your perception of time and how much time is available. So there's sort of two sides of this spectrum. Either I think there's plenty of time, or I think that there's not enough time. And in either situation, chances are I'm not going to make a move, right? Because I think, oh, I can do it later. I can do it, tomorrow or next week or next month or, and it never gets done. Or, gosh, I just don't have any time, enough time. There isn't time for that. And so I don't get started. And then the rock can't get rolling, right? And so we have to really examine, well, what could I do now? Right. And begin to understand, okay, like, who cares? There's only time. So what could I do right now? And we'll get into the overcoming. I don't mean to be skipping ahead. But that's the other thief of time, is the perception of availability. The next one we have, you see this little bull-headed icon, right? Also very common with my entrepreneurs and business owners, is that married to your way, right? This is how I've always done it. This is how it has to be. It couldn't look another way. Maybe a coach, a consultant, an employee, a vendor, even a family member or friend or significant other has kind of looked and been like, well, what if you did it that way? And, you'll know you're guilty of this if your reaction is, what? No way, I could never, right? And you immediately reject. That is the sole indicator of being married to your way, right? And then finally, and I mentioned it when we opened the conversation, the pursuit of perfection, right? And again, think about the paradigms that run this, right? How often did you need to have perfect attendance and perfectly written essays at school and needed to get a good grade with a gold star on the test so that you could pass the class or, not get in trouble at home or whatever it might be. See, the paradigms are formed, like I mentioned, over time and through repetition, and they begin to form, some will say, as early as your kind of creation in your mother's womb, but certainly immediately upon entering the physical world. So this perfection paradigm will certainly run you and will certainly prevent you from, sending it, completing it, calling them, emailing them, whatever it is that you need to do. I just spoke with someone yesterday and they said they hadn't really even been in their email, get a load of this, for 2 months. And I said, and he's like, well, I just need to make sure that the responses are like perfect. And I thought, that's a lot of pressure. It's an awful lot of pressure for you, huh? Like, what if you just hammered them out, And so I think they're moving in the in a forward momentum there. But that pursuit of perfection was so great that it had literally stopped them for 2 months. Okay, I'm gonna check the chat really fast. Okay, yeah, Amanda, you said yes, and that was Lone Wolf, Amanda. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's get into overcoming these thieves of time. And this is all about changing your thoughts and, what sort of different thoughts you could adopt and begin to get emotionally involved with those, such that you kind of can move into action in a new and different way. So with respect to indecision, well, we've just got to decide. We need to, and pardon the spelling error, I noticed that a moment ago, there's my lack of perfection, right? Start wherever you are with what you have, right? In the example of the road trip, right? I can, if I decide I'm going to San Diego, I'm going to certainly learn some things along the way about having a road trip and what might I need and require to do something like that again, but in a different way, in a better way, in a more effective way. So go to San Diego, right? And what does go to San Diego mean for you, right? I'm not sure. Maybe it's hiring someone, maybe it's farming out a task or a project to a vendor. Is it developing a new lead generation system for your business, that sort of thing? You know what it is for you. So make the decision and go. Things will begin to unfold. What's, the thought aspect of this is, if you are spinning and there's no decision, then you're not in action and the universe can't respond to you. Right? Because what's happening here is thought, feel, act, and then there's a result, a circumstance, situation, event, a result is created, and the universe is playing a part in that. It has to respond. But with all this chaos going on, the universe is like, I don't know what you want. It can't jump in and do its part in supporting you. So help the universe out. It wants to help you, but you got to make a decision. Okay. Next one, the lack of inspiration. So just decide, like, what is it that you really want? Get really clear and in touch. Like, really, not what your spouse wants, not what your friends and family want, not what you think you should say you want, so that the public or your customers, will be agreeable to that. Like, really, what is it that you want? Now, personally, I have a tool. I was actually sharing with Angela about this. I'm going to be publishing it here soon, but it's called a wants generator, because I find that, people have a hard time. Like, what is it that I really want? And so what it is, it's real simple. It's just a prompt for for you to kind of get your mind thinking about what kind of experiences do you want to have, what problems do you want to solve, who do you want to be engaged in the world with, that sort of thing to jog your thoughts. So keep an eye out for that, and it'll be coming down the pipe pretty soon. That's just something I've used on the sidelines and felt called to make it more publicly available as of late. Okay, next one. Now, simply as said, like, just say no. Now, I understand that, this is going to take a little bit more time than just say no, but really begin to work on when I say yes, am I saying it from a place of like, I really do want to say yes to that, or am I engaged in the people pleasing? And begin to think about, okay, it is okay for me to say no, right? I can say no in a kind and courteous way, or I can say no and still be respectful and loving. Like, adopt an affirmation or a mantra to begin to reprogram that. Give yourself space when those invitations come to, take a meeting or, go and engage in some sort of activity, project, task that you may not otherwise, want to. Give yourself some space. Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity. I need some time to consider and look at my other commitments. I'll get back to you in 24 hours, right? And give yourself the space so that you can return an answer from a place of authenticity for you. Okay. Next one, lone wolf, right? This is about empowering the people around you. And you have to be willing to have things be messy. They might be clunky. The person may make a mistake. And, here's the reality. In our businesses, with the exception of a few professions, most things are not life or death. And most things are, fixable. If an error is made, things will be fixable. Think about when we've all been at a restaurant and we have our server come up and there's sort of this shadow person behind them, and they say, this is Christina and she's new and she's going to be supporting me today. Thank you for your patience while we train our new staff. So you can see the person has communicated, I've got someone new involved. We may make a mistake. I hope you'll have some grace. I personally believe the world is a very gracious place, should you choose to look at that and do your part in communicating. So it will require you to let go, hold people capable that they're going to get the job done, and then allow them to do so. Okay. Next slides, or actually before we move on, questions? Any questions? No. Okay, good.
So here, real quick, I just wanted to say to those lone wolfers, because I think this really hits home with the message that we're talking about in the Surge Small Biz Growth Community this week. As a business owner, you will never scale your business if you are the one who has to do everything. It's impossible. So that one hits hard. Now, the perfection thing leads right on into it, right? Because if it has to be perfect, it will never be launched. Right. So you can adopt a ready, fire, aim strategy, to Heather's point. Instead of ready, aim, fire, you could be aiming, the target's moving and nothing ever gets fired. Or you can fire, adjust, tweak, fire again, adjust, tweak, fire again, adjust, tweak, fire again. Right. So that lone wolf, you must delegate and empower people around you to do other things that don't need to be you doing them in order to grow your business. And you must let go of perfection or nothing ever gets launched. So I just wanted to say, like, drive those two home, because especially as it relates to the community that we're all building together about really scaling and launching our businesses to create massive growth, you're going to have to figure those things out. So thank you, Heather, for bringing those in. And I am done interrupting you now.
No, I mean, thank you for the underscore. What comes to mind is that a quote, I don't know who said it, but it's something to the extent of, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
Right. And, I used to teach, back in the day when I kind of first was cutting my teeth in the coaching and training industry, teaching how to delegate was a core element of my, of the work that I did with my clients. And there is a spectrum, right? And it's, there's the teaching of the delegating, but even before that, there's the identifying and screening for talent, whether it's talent that you bring into your organization as an employee or independent contractor, or even for vendors, right? Sometimes we get really willy-nilly about, bringing in family members and friends and all of that. And, or we're really, really quick. And I believe that, speed and urgency is important. With a process and a system, you can save yourself a lot of time and a lot of headache, get a good person on your team, however that looks. And then again, kind of there's a spectrum of the handoff, and to do that really skillfully. And that requires really great communication, leadership, belief, right? Holding them capable. So we could do a whole nother talk on that. I will keep the conversation rolling though. So let's get into the last three. So perception of availability, right? Like I mentioned, when we covered this initially, we just have to understand, like, if we find ourselves saying, I don't have enough time, or I have an abundance of time, it's like, no, like the only time is now. Can you adopt that? The only time I have is now. Do it now. Get done what can get done. Right? These are some of those affirmations or mantras that can support you in changing your thinking, getting emotionally involved. Okay, cool. I could make, I was talking to someone yesterday, they've been putting off cleaning out their garage. Okay, not necessarily business related, but that's an open loop in her mind. Okay. And so she leaves for work every day, sees the garage and is distracted. So this all trickles out from business out into our life. And so it's like, okay, well, what if she just tackled this elephant by cleaning out, the left side first, or the back wall? I mean, right? What could you get done now? And use the time that you've been granted, because it's not guaranteed. Okay. Get going, make progress daily. Okay. Next one, being married to your way. Again, just a real big trap for our entrepreneurs who've been doing it the same way, and it's been working. And that doesn't mean that one way is the only way, right? It doesn't mean that one way is only possible. And so you've got to open up, right? And be willing to examine and be curious about new ideas, new systems, new processes, new technologies, right? And that takes courage. It takes vulnerability, right? So that's why being a part of a group like what Angela is creating, the Surge, is going to be really important. So, okay, I have fellow business owners, people who are in a similar space as me, and we're learning and we're growing. And I might be scared to ask this question, but hey guys, what do you think? Or right. And getting in there and seeing what else is out there, opening up. Even when you open up to a new idea, you still haven't made a decision about adopting it, right? So just begin by getting curious, asking yourself, how else could this be done? What else, could support me, or what's another way that could support me or us or the team completing this task, completing this project, getting to the end result, right? For this one, I often use an analogy of a Big Mac or dish rack. Okay. Some of you will fight me on this, but a dish rack to dry dishes, are you familiar? Right? There's not a right way to load it. Okay. You just put the clean dish on the dish rack and the air will do its job to dry the dish. Okay. Now a Big Mac, on the other hand, is made in a very particular way. Some of you have enjoyed a Big Mac. Some of you would never, that's entirely up to you. But a Big Mac for real is, the bun, the patty, the special sauce, the lettuce, cheese, pickles, onion, right? We got that middle bun and the sesame seed bun on top, and boom, that's a Big Mac. How that Big Mac is prepared is essential to the end result, called a Big Mac. But most things are not Big Mac items. They're dish rack items. And so think about that when you're getting real, tense and you have a tendency to hold on to the way that you've always done it. Ask yourself, wait, is this a Big Mac or a dish rack item here? And you will often find, okay, it's dish rack. All I care about is the end result. All I care about is the end result. All I care about is the end result. Right. And then, open up, okay, what else is available? Ask your team, ask the universe, ask. Once you've asked the question, there's always an answer. Allow it to come in, get curious. Okay. And then finally, that pursuit of perfection, that little bugger that gets a lot of us, we've heard this before. I understand. Telling you, advising you, coaching you to adopt the attitude, the belief, done is better than perfect. It's much easier for me to sit here and do that, and tell you that, and trust it works. And it will require you to act and do it. So, confession, right? That wherever error, spelling error on the back in the first couple of slides, someone pointed that out to me yesterday. I used this presentation, I repurposed it, and they pointed it out, and I got the error, or got the message with it. There was this error, and I got it at like maybe 8:00 last night, and I was like, oh God, where else is it? And I was like, okay, no, like, it's 8:00. I have other things that are important to me right now. I'm going to not tend to that. I'm going to wake up and have my morning, how I normally have my mornings, and not be all frantic and making sure that this is corrected and doing all the things. And I'm going to show up and we're going to have a great conversation. And if somebody has an issue with my spelling error, then so be it, right? That, choosing that, was more of my work, right? And going, it's okay if I have a spelling error. Maybe I have 2 or 3 in there. I don't know. Feel free to point them out. Okay. But where you can tell you're getting better at something like this is your willingness to press send, press play, make the call, be a little rough around the edges and imperfect, and still be at peace. But it doesn't happen until you start practicing. It's a practice. It's a practice. Okay. All right. So, questions, real live time, like what's happening? How can we support you?
It's not necessarily a question, but just a comment on the lone wolf situation. I've never heard it really phrased as empowering. I've always heard it, phrased as tackling your control freak. You need to learn to trust people, like let that go. Don't be a lone wolf. And that's always been a really hard issue with me. However, the way that you just phrased it, which is to empower other people, that's 1,000 times better, because then it's not about me at all. It is about inspiring, encouraging, and empowering somebody else, which I am wholeheartely all for. And now in my mind, I'm like, how many people can I hire now? Because you're like, let's go empower the whole world. That's easy. And that was such a simple mind shift. So literally that one piece of information, thank you for just phrasing it differently. It's incredible.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, we get to go make opportunity for people. Awesome.
So the one, I am sorry, I don't know what's with my voice today. So the one thing that really, really hit me was in the first one, the indecisiveness and not taking action. And I am just like, slap me in the face right now with some things that like, I know are good things, and I'm just not doing them. I'm not putting them out there. And I've heard it before, but it was just the way it struck me today is like the universe can't support you if you don't take that action. And so anyway, that just really struck me today. And then I actually I saw myself in all of those at different times. Like I wasn't just this one. I was like at different times, I'm kind of all of these different things.
Yeah, and thank you, Karen, for the share, right? Like we all have these paradigms come up, at some point or another. I think that they're the most common, right? And so I think it's also important, a lot of times in my work and coaching with clients, is like have some compassion around the discoveries. Understand, even if you might feel alone, you're not alone. That's why I love group calls like this, and the Facebook group that Angela has, my group, wherever, is it allows us to understand that we're not alone. If you're open to it, it's more of a personal story, but it's a pretty powerful one around decision and having the universe support you. Would it be okay if I shared? Yeah, Angela, is it okay for you? Okay, all right. So it's a personal side, but like I said, when we might be motivated to master these for our business, and then, the cool thing is that we can take it into our personal life and we get some benefits there. And so this is what immediately came to mind. And I'm sure there are examples in my business that I could offer as well, but I'll share what immediately came to mind. So for a long time, for about 5 years, I was single. And I'd been married before. I've been actually divorced for almost 10 years now, but without a boyfriend, any kind of significant commitment, that sort of thing. And the reality is I was sending some mixed signals to the universe. I'd say one week, I'd like a committed relationship. Then the next, oh, I'm going to date multiple people. It's okay. And then, oh, like I'm fine. I'm good. I'm single. All good. I'm working on myself. And I would just spin and spin and spin, it's sort of like, what's Heather up to this week in her love life? It was kind of like this indecision. I just was not clear. And last year I had a couple, heart-to-heart conversations with some amazing friends, and, kind of decided, okay, it's time. Like, I've got to get clear. What do I want? Right. And taking this kind of conversation and exercise a little further, really wrote out, like, who is this person and what are they like? And, what am I able to offer them? And what do they offer me? And how does this relationship look like and feel like? And, what are we up to? And I had to turn down the things that came along that didn't look like that. And I created some bad habits, right? Some people who were used to not being what I wanted, but got to kind of come into my space anyway. And I started saying no to those sort of things, like, no, thank you. No, thank you. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. We're going to San Diego, dang it. And after a series of a lot of no's, continue to hold the vision and keep the faith, right? Staying in that vibration, right? I got really emotionally involved with what it is that I wanted. I ended up, going out on a date, and then that led to 2 and 3. And now, 9 months later, I'm with an amazing man. And I wholeheartedly believe that it has a lot to do with my decision, my commitment, my willingness to say no, right, to what wasn't for me, and stick to what I knew was for me. So just a story to hopefully support you in whatever decision you have to make.
Thank you, Heather. I have, just being so close, kind of in your circle of your sphere of influence, just to kind of watch exactly what you described and how you described it so perfectly, because I've just been really fortunate to be kind of right in the, I had front row seats to watching that happen, to see how, not just in, my similar relationship status, but also other areas of my life where making that decision, getting very clear, right? And then making sure that how I'm thinking is in alignment with my decision, and then making sure that my actions are in alignment with my decision, right? And holding the vision. I think holding the vision is something that people don't give enough credit to, right? Because I think that's where the indecision comes in. It's like, well, this week I want, but that's not coming. So could I be happy like this? Or maybe I go this direction, and then we're not holding the vision. And if anybody's ever played the game of PLD, that is one thing I am clear that I am the queen on, is holding a vision once I've got it, right? And then the challenge is not necessarily recognizing like where the vision is needing to be defined or decided or chosen, right? Because we're just kind of, there's somebody on a mission to San Diego, or there's a lot of us in many areas of our life, like the plastic grocery bag on the freeway. The wind goes this way and the vehicle comes by and I fly there now, right? And I think that in so many different areas, I can see that happening. And then in other areas, I can see I'm going to San Diego, right? And so it's just, I think, making those shifts daily to get better today than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love what you just shared. Thank you so much, because it's universe in action. It is manifestation in the flesh, and I freaking love it.
Yes.
So yeah, so what's next?
Okay, what's next? So any other final questions, final thoughts before I just have a couple other slides? No, we're good? Okay. All right. Oh, Alex raised his hand. Yes, go ahead.
I would say based off what you're saying with like with the time thing, 2 weeks ago, I had some conversations with people like, hey, you should get an office here. And I was like, everything was falling apart. So then I knew like it wasn't the right decision. And then 2 weeks later, you know, relationships I had built over 4 years at the gym, they're real estate investors, like, hey, we have a whole wing that you can use at our space. And it's always been a conversation for the past year that I would be in this space. And then finally on Tuesday, I made the decision. And then 2 other guys from the gym who I kind of helped them pass their real estate exam just through talking to them. And they were looking at the same space and like, you already took it over. I said, you missed your opportunity by not making a decision. However, I'm still hiring if you want to come over to be on my team. And they're just like, you've been consistently trying to help us. Even when you see our head down in the gym, you take the time to talk to us and try to motivate us to get through our day, even though we're not with you yet, you know, so.
Yeah, I love this story. I mean, there's a lot there to like unpack.
Yes.
First of all, congratulations on getting your space.
Thank you.
That's exciting. And I love what you said about, you know, they missed the opportunity. So here's the interesting thing about, you know, the universe, right? Ideas, resources, tools, all of that, it's all energy, all of it. Everything is energy. Everything moves, nothing rests. That will flow in. Okay. And we have an opportunity to harness it, to take it, to, you know, act upon it or not. And if has anybody in here ever read the book, Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert? Okay. So Angela, you may know this story, but in the book, and I'll do my best to make this concise, she tells a story about how she had an inspiration to write a book about a woman an American woman who was like an administrative executive person who had traveled to the Amazon, and there was construction and turmoil and war and romance and all this stuff. Angela, do you remember this story? Yeah, it's so good. Okay, so she had this inspiration. She sat on it. She went to like New York or something, met an author that she had kind of admired, hadn't met before, hugged her. In her words, I believe she said, and Angela, feel free to jump in, she like kissed her on the cheek and was like, great to meet you. I'm honored to meet you, that sort of thing. Went about their merry way. And not long thereafter, that woman published a book about a woman, an American woman who traveled to the Amazon and like the whole plot. And Elizabeth Gilbert gets the book and is like, oh my gosh, this is my idea. Like did she take my idea or did I give it to her? You know, kind of question. And so, we have to be willing to, act on those inspired moments that, when your intuition, when those things kind of kick in, I mean, that's God talking to you, or spirit or universe, whatever word you resonates with you, and being able to act on that. And so, what Alex shared, those folks didn't act, and Alex did, and is now, reaping the benefits. And the other thing that I noticed about your story, Alex, that I want to acknowledge is that that contribution, that sort of abundance, that enough for everybody. Hey, you may have missed out on the space, but you didn't miss out on being a part of something great. Like come along and let's play together. And I think that's really special and great. So just wanted to underscore that from your story.
Yeah, I also want to just I think Heather, you and I were having a conversation about this earlier this week, which kind of leads right into that. Have you ever had an idea and you're like, God, that's brilliant. Why hasn't anybody done that? I'm going to do that. Right. And then 10 years later, you see your idea on the market and you haven't told anybody, and you haven't kissed anybody on the cheek.
Yeah. Yeah, it does not require kissing cheeks.
Right. And then it's like, and if you did happen to tell somebody about your idea, then you're wondering, did they tell they stole my idea? And really, I think Heather just described it brilliantly, is like the universe, it's energy, and all of those ideas they're planted with people who are capable of launching it, right? And if you don't take action, the universe is going to make sure it plants with somebody else. Those opportunities expire. And so that decisiveness is so key. I love this conversation today. I love it.
Yeah.
I've got chills. It's good.
So good. So good. All right. So listen, I mentioned that, a lot of this is, it's going to take a changing of your paradigm. Okay. To really master this, you've got to master changing of your paradigm. And that's the cool thing about paradigms, is that they don't necessarily have to stick around. They don't have to stay with you. They can be altered, and they're formed over time through repetition, and they can be changed over time and through repetition. I often think of, we think in pictures, right? So have you guys seen the Mucinex commercials? And you got the angry little Mucinex monsters. So my ineffective paradigms, the ones that stop me, hold me back, just aren't working for me anymore. That's like kind of the picture that they take on for me in my head. They're like gnarly and gross, right? And so if we don't feed that little monster, what happens? It doesn't get to live, right? It naturally, just like anything else, if I don't feed my plants, I've got some plants back here, if I don't feed and water them and nurture them, they're going to go away. So the same is true with your paradigm. When you have identified a paradigm, say, for example, the lone wolf was probably the most popular today, we can begin to replace with a new one. So you want to be able to squash the old and, kind of create and nurture and grow a new one. And that takes time and repetition. And so what I do with my clients is really help them work on the mindset. Often they know the tactical, right? And Angela and I talk a lot about this. They already know the tactical. It's the paradigms that get in the way of them actually implementing the tactical. And so for me and my clients, we work together in a few different ways. I do a group coaching where you're in kind of a community of other entrepreneurs and business owners working towards a goal, identifying those paradigms and, creating new ones. Same for individuals. And then I also will bring teams together and bring them through a program in the same fashion. My work generally is 6-month engagements, and then we kind of transition from there. And that way you get plenty of that time and repetition. And it is backed by, proven science. It is a program created by Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher with the Proctor Gallagher Institute. So it's not something I just made up out of the sky. Okay. It is proven, time tested. So if that is something that interests you, by all means, feel free to contact me. The little QR code there is a link to my link tree. It's got a clickable link so that you may download a version of this presentation. It's in a PDF format. It also has the ability to click through to schedule a consultation with me, join my Facebook group, all the places and spaces where we could connect further. So whatever suits your fancy. And then also my direct contact information is on the screen. So
I also threw some information in the chat there. If you do want to get in contact with Heather, feel free to reach out to her. That should make it even easier because it's right there and clickable.
yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, Angela.
Awesome. And if anybody on this call is not currently a member of the Surge Small Business Growth Community, this is the kind of thing that we're doing, looking at tactical and conscious and subconscious behaviors that are keeping us from being at the top of our game. The Surge is about growing your small business. So folks who are coming to join are high contributors, they're high achievers. They want to figure out how to really blow their results out of the water. And I have been, I don't know if anyone on this call doesn't already know that, but I have been a marketing leader for over 20 years now. And I specialize in helping small businesses get big. That is my sweet spot. That is something I love doing. I'm really good at it. And so I'm bringing a lot of those tools and tactics and teachings and coachings into, it's a free group. So if you're not currently a member, I also threw that in the chat. And then you can also reach me in my website, angelacook.co. And I've got a link to my YouTube channel there where you can get all kinds of free access to different marketing concepts and things that can help you grow your business. So with that, Heather, do you have anything else?
No, other than thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And
course.
thank you, guests, for coming today and giving your time. I hope it was valuable and useful and here to help.
I love
however we
it.
can.
I love it. Well, thank you all for coming. Go take, oh, we rounded out right exactly at the top of the hour. Good job, folks. I think everybody contributed to making that happen. That's cool. Awesome. Have an amazing Thursday, an amazing weekend. Again, I will see you guys in the group next week. We're going to tackle a different topic, but thank you so much, Heather, for contributing bigly to our time topic this week, because that is, I think, one of the biggest things that's holding people back. And I am committed to helping people kill it in business. So thanks again.
You're
And we'll see y'all in the future. Have a great day.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.